The New York Rangers trade Vitali Kravtsov to the Vancouver Canucks for Will Lockwood in a 2026 seventh-round pick. So the return, very, very low for Kravtsov, and that's disappointing. It's not totally surprising, but you would have thought it would have been a little bit better than that. And look, the Rangers were not in a position of strength here. Everyone knew that the Rangers are trying to clear cap space, so that's what they do in this situation where they gained $875K in order to potentially make this Patrick Kane trade. So that's a big part of this, but there's many factors. I mean, look, Vitali Kravtsov wanted out. He's wanted out for a while. This was a failure. This was a failure by the Rangers organization and Vitali Kravtsov. Vitali Kravtsov was a 9th overall pick in 2018. And it just simply didn't work out. You think about it. And in 2017, Lias Andersson was the 7th overall pick. Now, at least for that one, they traded him early enough where they got a late second-round pick, which ends up being Will Cooley, who there is some level of high hope for. Who, he was up a few weeks ago, and we'll see what his future holds. So there's something you may have gotten out of that, but still disappointing. This is even worse, where Will Lockwood, just real quick on him. He was a 2016 third-round pick by the Vancouver Canucks. He's played 28 games in his career, no goals, 1 assist, and a -12. It's kind of like Jake Lecision numbers. And by the way, Lecision was put on waivers today, and either he'll clear tomorrow and be sent down to Hartford, or he'll be claimed by a team dumb enough to want to take a chance on him. But as far as Lockwood goes, I'd expect him to be with the Hartford Wolfpack. I mean, he was with the Canucks in 13 games this season, so I guess crazier things have happened, and maybe somehow he finds his way up, but I wouldn't think so. And to me, this is nothing more than, another body. And I think that I can't imagine the Rangers really see much in him. So Lockwood, a name to remember, but one that I don't think really will make much of an impact for the Rangers. They also got a 2026 7th-round pick. So, not only is it a 7th-round pick, but it's in 2026. So it's obviously 4 drafts down the line. Kravtsov had no value. He really had no value. And here's the other thing when it comes to him is there is definitely a fear that he might bolt back to Russia. So, and I have to say, I think that that it is possible. But I think it's a good trade for Vancouver. I think, this is a better trade for Vancouver than the Rangers. Maybe Kravtsov finds it. Look, I was not impressed by him this season. If we want to talk about Kravtsov's 2 stints in the NHL, it was 2021, which was the 56-game season with no for the most part, no fans, and only division play and realignment. That season, the numbers are honestly very similar, except for the plus-minus. That's more of a team-related stat than anything. But I felt like Kravtsov that season, I kind of like what I saw. I thought that he was better than the numbers indicated. So he played 20 games, had 2 goals, 2 assists, good for 4 points, and was a -6. This season, 28 games played, 3 goals, 3 assists, and was a +6. So for Kravtsov, I actually was a little bit more impressed, and he didn't really get a chance to play with good players. Again, I think that year it was a lot like with Brent Howden and Kevin Rooney. He mostly found himself on the 4th line, and a lot of fans wanted him to play with Panarin and Strome, but instead they went with Colin Blackwell for the most part. This year he had a chance. He was on that Panarin-Trocheck line quite a bit, and I think that he really just, I think physically, he got really bullied around a lot. Very fragile, was injured in many different ways. And so I just don't know if I see the success. He really needs to bulk up. Speed isn't really much of a thing. There's talent. There's skill there. And I think in the right situation, it could be unlocked. But I don't think that I don't think that Vitali Kravtsov will amount to much, but I think it makes sense for Vancouver to take a chance on him. It really, but with the Rangers, it just wasn't going to work out. Still unfortunate though, right? I mean, you were hoping like maybe you get a 5th round pick. Like if we saw that, I think there would have been some Ranger fans that would have been upset by that even. But this is just, it just shows that he had absolutely no value. And it's too bad in hindsight. It's too bad the jury didn't trade him earlier. I understand why he didn't. And ultimately, I mean, he might find his way back in the KHL next year. But Vancouver's an interesting landing spot. I do think that that could work out for him. It definitely wasn't going to work out with the Rangers. It just wasn't. And so that's a 9th overall pick gone to complete waste. So in that era of time, so the first 2 drafts after the letter, no, that's not true. That was the first draft after the letter. The Elias Anderson, Philip Hedl one, they were starting to kind of retool. That was right after the Stepan trade to the Coyotes, where the Rangers got Tony DeAngelo and also, in essence, got Elias Anderson. So Anderson and Hedl, at least Hedl has worked out, you know, especially considering where he was. Hedl was, what, a top 20 pick, somewhere in the late teens? But Anderson doesn't work out, but maybe Will Cooley can, you know, make it all right. Kravtsov, nothing. Keandre Miller, good. Nils Lundqvist, not good, but you did get a first-round pick back for him. And now that's essentially been traded, depending on how you look at it, in the Tarasenko deal. So it's too bad that, you know, a lot of these times, these picks don't work out. A lot. But a 7th and 9th pick, I group Kravtsov with Anderson. Those just didn't work. And, you know, the Lafreniere and Kakko picks is a completely different, that's in a different story. And that remains to be seen how that turns out. So far with that, look, it's been underwhelming returns, but it is too early to say how that's going to finish out. But Kravtsov, look, he might find his way out of the NHL very, very soon. So wanted to talk about Kravtsov here. Not so much because we're going to get into likely, you know, Patrick Kane talks and what it means, but as far as that goes, Kravtsov, this trade signals that the Kane deal is imminent. And it's crazy that the best thing that comes out of this is freeing up $875K, which isn't really that much, right? It's not like, well, like with Sammy Blais, let's say Sammy Blais, like when you look at Ryan Reeves and Sammy Blais, well, it's like, all right, their cap hit was like, what, around like 1.6, 1.7. So, all right, like that's like fairly sizable. This is half that. So it makes sense for Vancouver, right? I mean, if you're a Canucks fan, it's like, whatever. Like you're giving up a 7th-round pick, you know, 3-4 years from now, and Will Lockwood, who is probably going to be nothing. So I like it for Vancouver. I dislike it for the Rangers, but I understand it. I understand it. It's a depreciated, you know, what once was an asset and what could have been something. This is the end result. So again, Vitali Kravtsov on his way to Vancouver. We'll see how he does the rest of the season there, and that will likely determine whether we see him back in the NHL next season. It's a career that is definitely hanging the balance for Kravtsov, but he is no longer a Ranger. We knew this was coming, and here it is. So again, Kravtsov to Vancouver for Will Lockwood and a 2026 7th round pick.